This conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everybody. Pretty exciting week this week. Good time to have a board meeting so we can celebrate a little. I'm going to call this April 23rd meeting of the Connecticut Green Bank Board to order at 9:02 a.m. So first item on the agenda, do we have any comments from the public? Hearing none. Second item, we'll move on to the minutes from our last meeting. Does anybody have any questions, comments, corrections, or? Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes?
Sandy, motion to approve.
Thank you. A second?
Steve Meyer, second.
Thanks, Steve. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstaining? Excellent. All right, off to a good start. And the second item we're going to talk about today is a merit memo for the team.
We're still, excuse me, we're still getting a lot of feedback.
We're sorry.
Yeah, it sounds like we might be getting an echo. Does the echo come when Lonnie is speaking or when anybody's speaking?
When Lonnie's speaking, it's pronounced.
Okay. So Lonnie, maybe if folks are okay with it, let's continue through the consent agenda, and then Lonnie, if you want to maybe dial back in, maybe that will help it.
Okay.
Hey, Brian, this is
Yeah.
Matt. Actually, I think it's when anyone's speaking other than you, oddly.
I agree, I'm hearing it
an
now with
echo from
Matt.
everybody.
Huh.
Is there a chance that maybe someone has their phone on near the video and they're maybe both coming in?
Yeah, there are a couple of them on mute.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, Brian, Lonnie, those are the only unmutes that I see.
Maybe Lonnie, try to mute yours because I think you're the host. Is that better? No.
Yeah, I'm hearing everyone clearly. But I have an echo, or Matt has an echo?
Matt, could you speak again?
Yeah, this is Matt. I think I have an echo. Brian, there's no echo when you talk.
Okay, let me try something really quickly. Give me a second. I'm gonna pull down the presentation. Bear with me here. Oops. Okay, let's try that. If folks want to talk, and let's see if there's an echo. Maybe Brian Farnan.
All right,
This is Lonnie. Is there echo gone?
it's gone.
Great.
Interesting.
Woo!
Okay.
Somebody's magic.
I'll talk to you later about how that what was happening there. Okay, great. So forgive me there. Okay, Lonnie, on number 2.
Okay, so let's move on. We have, and actually this came up at a recent board meeting that we had, a merit resolution to really praise the staff for this incredible work that's happened during COVID. And I think Matt Rinelli wanted to speak to that.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair, Lonnie, thank you. Right, this came up at the last meeting, I think, conversation with the board. And we wanted to recognize and thank staff for really the tremendous job they've done this past year, every year really, but this past year in particular, under, it was a difficult year, difficult circumstances, a lot of professional challenges and personal sacrifices we know went into keeping the Green Bank moving, and really that dedicated both hard work and smart work probably got us through what otherwise could have been a real crisis. And we thought we'd like to make a small but formal recognition for staff. So Brian Farnan took the lead in preparing a resolution, and if it's okay, I'll read it, and then Madam Chair, you can comment if you like. So the resolution, and Brian, there is actually, sorry, one typo in it, which I'll text to you, but we can clean it up. It's probably I put it in there. Okay, the resolution is as follows. Whereas the COVID-19 pandemic represents many new and novel challenges for all the staff of the Connecticut Green Bank, whereas challenges have included managing professional and personal obligations during a prolonged public health emergency while adapting to a fully remote work environment and navigating their own personal concern for loved ones who may be vulnerable to the virus, pressure to care for children at home, and potential financial and health insecurity impacting them and their loved ones and their own families. Whereas the Green Bank staff responded to meet the needs of the Green Bank partners and stakeholders to help them maintain and advance clean energy projects across the state of Connecticut. Whereas the commitment of staff and its dedication has continued to advance the Green Bank's mission to confront climate change and provide all of society a healthier and more prosperous future by increasing and accelerating the flow of private capital into markets that energize the green economy during these challenging times. Resolved that the Board of Directors, 1, honors and recognizes the contribution of all Green Bank staff through the pandemic, and 2, reaffirms its admiration and appreciation for their hard work and dedication that has made the Green Bank a global leader in the fight against climate change. So that's the proposed resolution. I'll turn it back over to you, Lonnie.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions or comments from other board members? Do I hear a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved. It's Tom Flynn.
All right, thanks, Tom. A second?
Second, Shandy.
Anu, thank you. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Unanimously approved.
All right, well, great, thank you for that. I will be sure to communicate those words to the staff and team, recognizing all of them for managing through the difficult times while upholding the mission of the Green Bank. These are exciting times. Today's going to be an exciting day, I think. So also in the materials, we included, John Harity had requested at the last board meeting an overview of the process, the merit review process. So we included a memo that we do every year, and we kind of put it on file, which is an overview of the merit review for the year. So we included that. What we will do is in the next budget operations and compensation committee, or the one in June where we deal with staffing, we will go through that process with the budget operations and compensation committee, but we provided it for you all as background. And it is April, so we have through Q3 of fiscal year 2021 information that we included in the packet. So we're doing well across the board in terms of our incentive programs and financing programs. You will see in the financing programs what looks to be short of the goal, but as we presented in March, there are incoming projects from municipalities through the solar market assistance program, Solar Map, and the state lead by example projects are in the process of being signed. So once contracts get signed, then they become reportable and count towards the target when those transactions close. So we're in a good spot overall through Q3. So that was just a quick report out.
Good.
Thank you.
Lonnie again. We're now going to move on. We're going to talk about updates on many of our undertakings, and I see that it's going to be Bert, Michael, you, Desiree Miller, and Brian.
Great, Bert, you wanna, I'll turn it to you, Bert.
Okay, all right. Good morning, everyone. As Chair Reed said, it's been quite a week, not only with the 51st anniversary of Earth Day, but our second issuance of Green Liberty bonds. And I just have to say that if ever that show business maxim of always leave them wanting more applied, it would have been yesterday with our second issuance of Green Liberty bonds. We brought to market $25 million of Green Liberty bonds, as Mike Yu will walk you through in a moment with all the details. We were inundated with retail and institutional orders to the tune of just shy of $100 million. I mean, it's just an incredible amount of market response. So we should all be proud of this incredible achievement. In the span of 2 years, the Green Bank has issued over $80 million in climate certified bonds. And this resounding response by the market this week to this latest issuance, I think solidifies the acceptance of the Green Bank as an issuer of climate certified bonds. So thanks to everyone who participated in this process, especially the support of our board. We couldn't have gotten there without you. And Mike will address all the other parties that really contributed to this fine effort. So with that, Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Great, thanks, Bert. Am I coming through okay to everyone?
Perfect, Mike.
Okay. So yeah, yesterday we placed $24.8 million of Green Liberty bonds, which is actually about $1 million higher than we had presented to the board at the SCARF self-sufficiency meeting not too long ago. And it's higher because of the fantastic rates we were able to get in the market, which were a fair bit lower than we had been projecting. The market received both the bonds well, both on the retail and institutional side. And because of that reception and that demand, the interest rates were lower. And so we were able to get more bonds for the same amount of projected debt service, which is why that par amount is where it is. The pricing process took place over 2 days. So Wednesday was a retail only process where we focused on Connecticut and national retail, trying to drum up demand there. And that strategy worked really well for us. The retail demand itself was oversubscribed at 3 or 4 different maturities. And that allowed us to show institutional investors that there's a lot of demand for this, and that if they want to be able to participate, they need to come and put their best foot forward. So the institutional period was yesterday for a couple hours, and when all was said and done, you know, everyone on the team was watching the orders come in live. It was almost 4 times oversubscribed. So as Bert said, almost $100 million of orders for a little bit less than $25 million of bonds, which is, I think, a home run by any means. But not only that, in terms of absolute order amount, but we have a broad array of investors. So we have a memo where we show the breakdown of investor type by maturity, and it's it's kind of a rainbow looking chart, and we think that's great. That there's both Connecticut retail, national retail, there's institutional investors, and it runs the entire gamut. So it's not just
Mike. I'm going to interrupt you there for a moment so we can bring the slide deck along with you. Let me ask you to pause there in your explanation. Could you, Brian? Could you? Yeah, you could go. We were just really there. There we go. First of all, we just wanted to say we should have explained this background, and maybe I passed it over to Mike a little too soon. I wanted to walk through these slides. This is just for the board's background. This is our investor page here. We really, and this really helped in terms of the pre-marketing effort, which, as Mike was speaking to the success of the issuance, we got a lot of hits on this website. A lot of investors came to this to find out all the materials. It's very retail investor friendly. It's very easy to make your way around that website. If you haven't tried it, I suggest you just go there and check that out. You just click maybe on the yes, and this is although this is dated a little bit recently, and we will update the information for the board and get you all of the nice press that we have received on Green Liberty bonds. There was actually a mention carrying Brian Garcia in Bond Buyer magazine last week, which we'll send around to you. But very, very good earned media type of awareness in the market. So and then we'll go from there. Really, just to say here, this is just to explain, as you all know, that these bonds are supported by the revenues that we get from the 2 investor-owned utilities. And we securitize those so that we can support not only residential solar PV in Connecticut, but also from the recovery of proceeds that we have had to invest. We put those back into the other programs for which we dedicate our resources and energy efficiency and as well as other activities. And the next slide will show the array of transaction parties. These are the same as last year, and as was explained to you previously, we really benefited from the insight and valuable input of Lamont Financial Services, Bob Lamb. He's our municipal advisor and has been municipal advisor for the state of Connecticut at various times. Shipman and Goodwin, not only Bruce Chudwick, but Matt Ritter also joined the team this year. Stiefel changed places with Ramirez. Their retail presence in Connecticut really hit the ball out of the park. Not only their Connecticut presence, but their national network, as well as the syndicate in the selling group that they put together, really made for a successful offering. And everybody else on the page was the same, except the Underwriters Council was changed to Ballard Spahr. So with the next slide, I'll pass it back to Mike to continue walking.
Bert,
Actually,
Bert,
yep.
It's Lonnie. Just quickly, it was so exciting yesterday watching, and actually the day before as well. And I suddenly saw Lubbock, Texas come up. Lubbock was buying bonds, and I'm just wondering, is there any percentage of in-state versus out-of-state buyers?
Yes, yes, and Mike will cover that. If you go ahead another slide or two to the rainbow colored slide. There you go. That's the one that Mike was speaking to. So Mike will be able to give you those details, and he can refer to this slide as well. Back
Great,
to you, Mike.
Thanks.
Yeah, sure. And apologies for jumping ahead. I got too excited about this slide in particular. But yeah, to your question, Lonnie, if you look at the green portion of the bars, that's Connecticut retail. So you can see that there's a bit of interest all along the maturity curve there, but in particular in 2026, there seemed to be a lot of interest there. And then that yellow bar on top of it is also retail, but that's national retail. So the two of them combined, those are all the sort of the smaller investors that we were trying to reach out to. And because of that, that you can see that there's a small black line that runs through all the charts. That's the bond offering. And so when those columns are above it, that means it's oversubscribed. And so you see the green and the yellow pieces for many of those maturities caused it to be oversubscribed, which led to a bunch of downward pricing pressure, which allowed us to reprice the bonds very favorably, sometimes up to 12 basis points for one or two maturities. And so, yeah, that's our initial offering. We went out to market with
Excuse me,
pricing
Matt,
on Wednesday.
Matt, could you go on mute, please? I think you're thank you.
Yeah. We hit the retail market strong, and then on Thursday there was a lot of outreach to institutional investors, both on the ESG side and then also focused within Connecticut. And feedback from the capital markets team at Stifel was pretty unanimously favorable in that a lot of institutional investors, they decided to participate explicitly because of the strong green bond standards that we put in place, the verification standards, the mission focused nature of the bonds and the funds that they said they would not have otherwise come into the deal with. And so we think that marketing that Rudy and the marketing team has done, as well as Eric Schrago's work on the verification side, has really paid off in spades here. When you look at the orders filled from retail, it's over 50%, which is an improvement over the previous issuance last year, as well as the interest costs has come down as well by a good amount, even when I think the underlying treasuries might be even a little bit higher than before. Our issuance last year had a true interest cost of 2.61%, and this year was 2.42%. So, we deemed last year's success, and this year was an even better result. Next slide, please. I guess that's the end. Sorry, but yeah, I'll open up to any questions from the board.
Thank you, Mike. That was thanks for that presentation. Yeah, clearly we benefited from even though U.S. Treasury notes and the 10-year increase from about the mid 50s, 0.5% or so last July to the 1.5 or so this week. We benefited from a slight swoon in rates, as well as much improved spreads that municipal bonds are pricing versus treasuries. So we didn't cause that; we took advantage of that. So that was very helpful to our ultimate pricing. But also, as Mike pointed out, just the sheer strong response in the market allowed us to improve pricing. And I might also say it was a competitive day, although the state of Connecticut came out with a major issuance the same day we did, but those were tax exempt, and this is a taxable, federal taxable issuance. So different people looking for those bonds, but it certainly was a big week for Connecticut, and as I think, I'm not sure Mike mentioned, but CHAFA issued bonds last week. They were also state supported with the Special Capital Reserve Fund, and we ended up right on top of the yields they achieved, and in some maturities we even came inside of what they achieved. So good result all around, and really establishes us as a regular issuer in the market, and we hope to repeat this on an annual basis for the Green Liberty bonds around Earth Day. So if there are no further questions, I'll pass it back to you, Chair Reed.
Thank you, Bert. I think the next item on the agenda is a request to upsize the PosiGen Senior Facility. And Bert, you're going to tell us about that?
Yes. So if Brian, there you go. Thank you very much. Yeah, this is I think this is fairly straightforward. PosiGen throughout, as I reported last time, I think it was in December, that notwithstanding the pandemic, they have continued their strong growth in Connecticut. Connecticut now is the strongest deployment area for PosiGen in the U.S. They're still deploying in Louisiana, they're deploying in New Jersey, in Connecticut, as well as a bit in New York, and we are now the largest state for them on a monthly basis, with over 200 new projects monthly. They now have over 4,000 systems in Connecticut, which includes not only solar PV, but energy efficiency upgrades, and 60% of those installations are for low and moderate income households. They also are a big employer in the state, for a company of its size, 100 direct staff members, but many more in terms of indirect staff that are hired through subcontractors that get their business from PosiGen. Their portfolio is strong. Their collection experience, even through the pandemic, had improved from 2019, and that continues even now. I think it's fair to say that a lot of that was due to the stimulus money from the government in terms of outright payments to people, as well as enhanced unemployment benefits, which probably helped a number of households who were impacted that way. But that has kept up into the current year, and with all of that good background that PosiGen is experiencing, they closed their D round of capital in December, raising $33 million. That they had intended to raise about $40 million. They fell a little shy of that, as parties were still considering whether to invest or not. With the new year, people started to circle around PosiGen, take a closer look, and now it's really an abundance of capital with the current raise, in addition to that $33 million, of 20 million or so. So they have accomplished that. They closed that D round out this week, and in addition to that, about 10 days ago, they did a partial refi. I call it a partial refi because they had a different lender for their working capital facility, and they were able to not only repay that other facility, but to increase the size of the facility to get some more flexibility on the working capital side. And that is funded by a woman-owned SBIC, Connecticut-based, which is good to see. And so as it relates to this request that staff is bringing to board today, there is the existing first and second lien facility, where we have a $14 million position plus participants on top of that, totaling up to $19 million in a second lien position, and Ares Capital, a major asset manager in the U.S. and fund private equity fund manager, with 75 million in that facility in a first lien position. They want to increase that by 50 million to keep up with Posigen's growth. And that requires our consent, which is brought to the board today. And on the next slide, I think, are the simple resolution to approve that change. So as this is very supportive of Posigen, they're in a much stronger capital position than they have been in quite a while. It's good to see that capital is finally circling them and actually committing dollars to Posigen. So staff is supporting this request, and we respectfully request the board endorse this by passing the resolutions that you see on the screen there. And I'm happy to address any questions the board may have.
Bert, it's Lonnie. I'm just wondering, does that increase our balance sheet exposure?
It does not. It absolutely does not. Ours is static at $14 million.
Great, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Good, okay. So do I hear a motion to approve resolution number 3?
Sandy, move.
Is that you, Banu?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. Any seconds?
Matt,
Steve
second.
Myers, second.
Okay, so Matt, you jump in there first.
Happy to defer to Steve.
Okay, Steve, good. Good. I like that. I like a traffic jam with seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. Moving on. Our next item is the Skyview facility, and I think Bert and Desiree are going to fill us in on this.
Actually, it'll be, thank you, Chair Reed. It will be me and David Beach, a new addition as of June of last year to the finance team. So, so I'll give a brief introduction and then I'll hand it over to David.
Great. Welcome, David.
Thank you.
So yeah, the Skyview transaction has been with us for a while, so we're coming back to the board on this. But the Skyview team is very good, very helpful in terms of doing a lot of transactions in the state, particularly with municipal off-takers. So, so what this does is offer some additional flexibility, as David will explain. So David, you take it away. Thank you.
Thanks, Bert, and thanks, Madam Chair. Yeah, we're coming back to the board on this secured term loan we have with Skyview to qualify additional PPA projects. As you know, the facility was approved in March, then expanded a couple times, last time being in October to its current size of $7 million. And in that time, we've have so far advanced $3.2 million against 27 projects. And we do expect another advance to come here in a couple weeks. Skyview is a prompt payer, and you know, the projects that are securing this loan continue to perform as we expect. And so we're bringing to you a strong 2021 and 2022 pipeline that Skyview has provided. It's 6.3 megawatts of projects here in the state of Connecticut. And we are hoping to qualify these, as Bert says, so we have the flexibility to continue diligencing and advancing against these projects in fiscal year 2022. We can go ahead and move to resolutions and open it up for questions.
Any questions?
So
I'm just
to-
wondering, it's Lonnie again, just wondering, how is the municipal demand growing? It feels, I just got off the phone with our first selectman, it feels like municipal demand is really exploding.
It certainly seems like that from Skyview continues to bring us a strong portfolio of projects, and the vast majority are municipal off-takers. So from what I've seen with Skyview's projects, and honestly ours as well through the MAP program, it certainly does seem like municipal solar is really taking off. But I'll let anyone else on the Green Bank team comment as well.
I would just say that it's probably a combination of things, but certainly there is the last ZREC auction is upon us. It opens up on April 30th and closes June 14th. So there's probably a lot of excitement around that because that'll be the last ZREC round. The state will be moving to a tariff-based system, which will operate a little bit differently. It'll still be competitive, but it'll operate a bit differently than the ZREC has been operating in the past. So probably that accounts for some of it, and there might be some virtual net metering flexibility that could come through the legislature, although I'm less certain of that. Brian Farnan or Mackie Dykes might have some insight on that.
Yeah, I think this is Mackie Dykes. Yeah, we have seen, it's nice. There has been a lot of behind the meter interest recently. As we're seeing, we've had great success with our MAP program. And then, yeah, virtual net metering continues to be an area of prime interest, both by the municipalities and even more so by those developers. There was a bill advanced out of committee to expand the virtual net metering program, but the expansion was only for manufacturers and distressed municipalities. I know there's strong interest from the developer community to change that bill to add some funding for municipalities. There's a long queue that's already submitted projects of, municipalities that have already submitted projects into the VNM program. So a quote unquote clear the queue effort. I'm sure Chair Reed is familiar with that from her time in the legislature when they built a long queue and were trying to get funding allocated to it. The same thing has happened again. I think that bill is where everyone's focused to try to make that happen.
Yeah, our first selectman was asking me that this morning, as a matter of fact.
The developers are very good about rallying up.
Call your legislators.
Yeah.
Any questions or comments? No?
Madam Chair, this is Matt. I just comment that I'm going to abstain on this because I've had various projects where I'm on the municipal side with Skyview on projects. I'm just not sure if they're within the pool of money here.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Do I hear a motion to move the Skyview PPA resolution?
So moved.
Do I hear a second? That was Tom Flynn.
Yes.
Do I hear a second?
Binu Chandy, seconds.
Thank you, Binu. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And Matt abstaining. Okay. Our next item is, I believe we need to go into executive session because it involves a restructuring and their proprietary details involving a company. Is that right, Brian?
Yes.
That's right. So what we'll do procedurally is, Lonnie, if you could ask the board for a motion to move into executive session for confidential matters relating to polymer precision, then we'll move in. And just from a technical perspective, so what I will do is after that motion happens, I will stop the recording, lock the meeting, and all board members should stay on the line, as well as the following staff members: Mackie Dykes, Bert Hunter, Brian Farnan, Nick Zuba. And then anybody else, if you can check off or I'll knock you off, you can sign back in and you'll come into the lobby. So that after your motion, I will take those steps.
And for the motion, we just want to make sure we include within the minutes that it's for commercial and financial information given in confidence, not required by statute.
Good. Good to make that clear. Do I hear a motion to go into executive session?
So moved. Binu Chandy.
Thank you, Binu. Do I hear a second?
Steve Meyer, second.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, I am going to stop the recording and give me 1 second.
This conference will now be recorded.
So we're back into public session. Welcome back, everybody. And after discussion, we think we need to pursue some answers to some questions that we all had. And so we are going to table this resolution. I think our next item is some other business. And Eric and Brian.
Great, we'll turn it over to Eric Schrago to give us an update on Lead by Example.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you, Madam Chair. The Green Bank, as an instrument of the state, has been, we were an optional member for the state's Lead by Example, or Executive Order 1, which was basically directing state agencies to reduce their carbon footprint and to look towards a path of less environmental impact. And so we opted in basically because it aligns with our mission, and we've looked at our operations and how can we reduce our impact. And this year we've been really focused on our office space, being that we were at that point in our leases that we could identify new office space and move to buildings that more aligned with our mission. And so in Stamford, our building, as I think you all are aware, we've worked with the landlords to pursue a lighting project through SBEA, which is moving forward, and we're continuing to work with them to identify other ways to reduce electricity in that building. Here in Hartford, we're now in our new space where they have an SBA lighting project that they've pursued for the building. We're currently working with the landlord on identifying other things in this building that would reduce energy usage. In our space, we have a new air source heat pump that's providing supplemental heating and cooling in the office. And we are working with them on a potential solar project here. And we expect that partnership with the landlord to grow over time. In terms of other ways that we can look to cut our carbon footprint, one of the things we've looked at is water. In this new facility here, we've installed all low flow and very water friendly appliances, toilets, sinks, faucets, but we'll continue to pursue more in the coming year. We're also looking at trash and waste disposal and recycling. We have a bit more say in what happens here than we did in our previous space. And so we have greater faith that our new vendor will actually be recycling our recyclables. And we are looking to bring composting on site and potentially work with the apartment building adjacent to our new office to offer that as something to employees as they return to the office and to the residents. So to continue to reduce our carbon footprint. But I just wanted to thank the other members of staff who've also been part of this initiative, both from a green bank perspective, but also from the state's perspective, where we've been part of working groups looking at project finance and the state PPA, or the PPA offered to the state, as well as assisting other state agencies with energy efficiency projects, or just providing guidelines around best ways to work with landlords and lease space. So I'd like to thank Brian Farnan, Bert Mackey, Matt Masunas, and Robert Schmidt for taking part of this initiative. Any questions or anything that you guys think that we should address? I'd love the feedback.
Eric, it's Lonnie. So it sounds like other tenants are going to benefit as well of the building.
Ideally, yes.
Great, thanks.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
All right.
Okay.
With that.
All right.
So, Brian, you want to introduce Gina?
yeah. In a second, I'm going to go back to that little fix that we did earlier, because I think that I'm pretty sure that's what caused it. So hopefully that little fix, I could bring the sound back. But just building from Eric's remarks, there is a report that we file with Deep that's in the material. So take a look, flip through that if you can. But really, so yes, we are focusing on sustainability through Executive Order 1 with our new locations. We are now, this week, we've moved in the staff and will continue to move in the staff into our Hartford location. And to your point, Lonnie, to your question, yeah, we are completely a part of this community. We're located within the Connecticut Nonprofit Center, which has a number of social service organizations within it. We're excited when folks come back to work to be connecting with those nonprofits, because those are a lot of the citizens that we hope to serve in terms of reducing their energy burden. We're also located near Capewell Lofts, which I'm pretty sure less than 5 years ago was a completely dilapidated building that literally had weeds growing through it. And through DECD support and a number of other investors, that facility is now a mixed housing, including affordable housing units to it. So we are literally a part of this local community here at the Atlantic Work. So we're excited by that, to the extent we can move beyond air source heat pumps, move beyond the EV recharging stations, the small business energy advantage lighting, the stuff that we're doing. Yeah, we're going to look at a parking lot solar canopy, and if we can get approval from the city, interest from the landlord and its investors, then we hope to build a parking lot solar canopy that would not only help us reduce our energy costs by using our own solar PPA product, but also reduce energy burden for the tenants at Capewell Lofts who pay residential rates. So really applied opportunity here. There's also a field outside, so we're hoping to bring in some food vendors and become a bigger part of this community. So really excited about that. I would really, we're probably, if I had to say, Eric, maybe 2 weeks away from inviting board members to come in and when we can kind of do tours, when we'll all be settled in. But one of the things that the projects that Eric took on with the team, Robert, Barbara Johnson, Barbara Waters, was ensuring that not only the environment met our sustainability objectives, but met our values. So what you will see coming into the building are conference rooms that
didn't go as planned.
Oh, sorry, Mackie. Mackie, I'm gonna mute you.
Mackie, go on mute.
All right, I just muted Mackie. So what we're working on is really embedding the values of our culture within the overall structure of the building. So we've got a number of meeting rooms named after some important people who have advanced clean energy in Connecticut. And one of the rooms is the Gina McCarthy room that you're seeing here, which is literally located within the part of our building So we are within a part, the Gina McCarthy Room is in a part of the building that houses Inclusive Prosperity Capital, the nonprofit that we co-created with Deep and the Kresge Foundation. And it's very symbolic because the motion, Gina moved the motion to create the Inclusive Prosperity Capital in 2018 as we were dealing with the sweeps and working through our three-legged transition. But so it's symbolic that this room is within this part of the building. But we all know that Gina is just an incredible public servant and a hero here in the state of Connecticut. So she's seen this room. We sent her a picture of it. She specifically said, I will quote her. She said it is fabu. So she's very excited by it. And what you're seeing here is, a whiteboard table. People can throw the thoughts out. And so anyways, a lot of exciting things are gonna happen there. But I wanted to share with you a video that Gina had shared with us, had produced for us yesterday for Earth Day, our Earth Day webinar. Let me work through a few technical things right quick and see if I can get the volume back on. Give me one quick second. Okay. Yeah, let me try it again. Okay, here we go. If you hear an echo, chat me so I can see that that's happening.
Thanks, Emily, for that wonderful introduction and for all the work at the Connecticut Green Bank, and welcome everyone to this Earth Day conversation. I'm so excited to hear about all the cities and towns in Connecticut who are leading the charge in accelerating climate and environmental action. Next week, President Biden and his special climate envoy, Secretary John Kerry, are hosting a leaders summit on climate change. And it's a gathering of world leaders so they can talk about President Biden's commitment to climate action, as well as the work we have to do across all countries over the next decade to get us on track to tackle our climate crisis. It's going to be an exciting 2 days that feature the president's cabinet, state and city leaders, philanthropists, advocates, business leaders, and others who will make sure the international community knows that the U.S. is all in, and to jumpstart worldwide efforts on the road to Glasgow in November, where we'll once again meet as a world to look at the science, to strengthen our country commitments, and to get us on a collective trajectory to a healthy, safe, more equitable, and sustainable future. Let's not forget that for the past 4 years, state and local governments across the United States have been stepping up when the federal government fell down in their efforts to combat climate change. And I wake up every morning thanking them for their spunk, their fearlessness, their energy, and their ingenuity. And now that the federal government's back, working for the American people again, states and cities will have the leadership and the support they should have expected from the federal government all along. We saw it when President Biden issued his first 2 executive orders that made it clear that climate change is no longer going to be denied, but instead would be recognized as a crisis we can and we must win. And we saw it when President Biden launched his American Jobs Plan, which is all about investing in America again. It's about modernizing America's infrastructure, investing in clean energy and safe drinking water, in roads, bridges, transit, broadband, ports, airports, railroads, EV charging stations, battery manufacturing, a resilient grid, renewable energy like solar and offshore wind, modernizing millions of homes and buildings with renewable and efficient energy. And that's just the highlights on page 1 of the 26-page fact sheet. All right, so a slight exaggeration, but you get the point. It's a plan that's big and bold, so it can meet the moment head on. and one that will meet President Biden's commitment to achieve net zero carbon emissions in 2050 and clean electricity as early as 2035. And it's a plan that ensures at least 40% of the investments are going to the communities that have been systemically disinvested in, the Black, brown, tribal, and low-income communities that have been left behind, Lord knows, for far too long. It's a plan we should all be able to support with pride. It's what our country will be able to accomplish together. A plan that gives everyone a fair shot at millions of good-paying union jobs and U.S. innovations that can spark our world to act together. And the president's infrastructure team is filled with energy and excitement and expertise. They're advocating for the plan across the country and on the Hill. Secretary Granholm from the Department of Energy, Secretary Mayor Pete Buttigieg from Transportation, Secretary Raimondo at Commerce, and Secretary Walsh at Labor are all part of our National Climate Task Force, and they're helping to shape and to deliver our climate actions by deploying the climate solutions we have today and investing in the innovations we need to grab our future. And just make sure to give Connecticut Green Bank, all of you there, Connecticut Green Bank, give them the kudos that they deserve. Brian Garcia and his team, they have been early adopters of smart financing strategies. And let me say that President Biden included a clean energy and sustainability accelerator, which will help advance the Green Bank model that was pioneered in Connecticut and Michigan, that's taking hold in local and state governments across the country. Why? Because it can help us fund efforts in those communities that have been left behind. Smart private sector, public sector investments that will get everyone working together and lift everyone up. So let me end by acknowledging the wealth of leadership in Connecticut, because you should be very proud of the way you get to stand tall this Earth Day. Governor Lamont, your leadership in addressing COVID-19 using science as your guide has been instrumental. And your willingness to confront climate change, including policies you're advocating in the current legislative session. They should make this great state proud. My favorite is the expansion of the Green Bank scope beyond clean energy to also include environmental infrastructure. It's so exciting to see the Connecticut Green Bank continuing to evolve and lead. Again, bravo, Brian, and to your team. And Commissioner Dykes, Chair Gillette, Commissioners Giletti and Lehman, and Secretary McCaw, you are amazing. Talk about the A-team. And let me give special thanks to Treasurer Wood and his team for supporting the Green Bank in its inaugural Green Liberty Bond in honor of the 50th anniversary of Earth Day last year and the issuance occurring today on Earth Day for the second year. And lastly, the Connecticut Legislature, in particular, the Energy and Technology Committee and the Environment Committee, I really applaud you, because you always work hard to get these public policies across the finish line to passage so we can start the summer with renewed hope and excitement. So on this Earth Day, let's make the start of a new Earth Day an exciting one where we don't just get past this pandemic, we get past the partisanship that's divided us. We work together for our families, our communities, and our country to invest in a clean energy future that builds millions of good union jobs, focuses benefits on environmental justice communities, and confronts climate change at the scale and the scope that science demands. In short, let's make this the best Earth Day ever. Thanks, everybody.
All right. So before I connect the dots, we'd be happy to invite thoughts. I'm going to technically get back to removing the echo, but if folks have any thoughts that they want to share after having just seen Gina in this way, please feel free to weigh in. I'm gonna do some quick things here, but feel free to jump in.
Well,
right.
this is John Harity. It is like getting a drink of water in the desert to hear Gina talking about the shift in government from where we were, which was to do nothing or worse, to actually beginning to tackle this crisis in the manner that it needs to be done. So it's just I just have a great feeling of relief, and I'm hoping that the Congress will go along and that we can really get serious about this stuff, because it's we really don't have a lot of time. And I do have to say that I loved hearing her say that this would involve millions of good union jobs. Sorry, that's just my bias, but it was great to hear.
Yeah, it's a marvelous way to for us to conclude this amazing week and go into the weekend. I mean, that she really, underscores the fact that the Connecticut Green Bank was not only the first green bank, but we've set a standard, and that the integrity of what we do and of our people is renowned. That we have an incredible national reputation, and that they are modeling, all kinds of efforts on the things that we've done. So everybody really should feel very proud. And it's great to have Gina. I mean, she really knows how to deliver it. So that was great.
Yeah, she's quite remarkable. It's been an incredible 24 hours, right, since Earth Day. We talked about the green Liberty bonds. We had this extraordinary webinar yesterday where this message was communicated by Gina. At the same time, you had the clean energy, or excuse me, the Leaders Summit on climate change at the White House that was going on. And then this morning, as I was driving into the office, we had, SpaceX with an international crew taking people up to the space station, looking back down on the Earth. So it's just a real crazy 24 hours to think of where we are looking at our planet. But I wanted to just kind of connect some dots here, just in terms of what's happening at the federal level with the policy on the Clean Energy and Sustainability Accelerator, which is also known as the National Climate Bank, and then connect that to how we're trying to get ready here in Connecticut to be ready for those federal funds, given the scope expansion of our mission to include environmental infrastructure, which is working through Governor Lamont in the Council on Climate Change. So the accelerator has last year moved through the House twice through Congresswoman Debbie Dingell from Michigan, and it passed twice at a $20 billion level. I'll go through some elements of the policy in a second. But they are putting forward it again in the House and the Senate in the coming month. Hopefully this will all wrap up into the president's package, because in the American Jobs Plan is the inclusion of the Clean Energy and Sustainability Accelerator. So Gina noted it there. It's within the plan for the federal government to capitalize local, state, and regional green banks with federal funds. So those that don't have system benefit charges, those that don't have RGGI allowances, they would have access to low-cost, long-term federal debt to support, what things we're really doing. Embedded in that policy is really EJ 40, front and center, Environmental Justice 40, climate impacted communities. It's probably one of the policies that clearly articulates the need to ensure more investment in communities of color, distressed neighborhoods, low-income tribal communities, as well as those that will need a just transition. Those communities that are economically reliant on fossil fuel-based industries. We have to help those communities transition to a zero carbon economy. So all of that is embedded within the accelerator policy. Areas of investment, it moves beyond clean energy. It includes resiliency, all the things we do, efficiency and renewable energy, including fuel cells. We made sure fuel cells were in there. That's a hometown technology for Connecticut. Industrial decarbonization. You've got your nature-based solutions with agriculture and forestry, clean transportation, including support for public fleets for municipalities and states, electric vehicles and buses. And again, the big priorities are maximizing greenhouse gas emission reductions per dollar of federal funding spent, environmental justice 40, no less than 40% of federal investment will inure to climate impacted communities, consumer protections, labor, John, right there, prevailing wage and project labor agreements. So all of that is there, and we should really, look to our former board member, Reed Hunt, and the Coalition for Green Capital, Jeff Shub, Alex Craigie, and the whole team who have been working with states through the American Green Bank Consortium and local green banks to build and develop this policy to get it to where it is today. So really excited. On the Connecticut side, Governor Lamont proposed Bill 6441, an act concerning climate change adaptation, includes a recommendation that came from the Governor's Council on Climate Change, which would be to expand the Green Bank's authority beyond clean energy to include environmental infrastructure, which would include things like water, waste and recycling, climate adaptation and resilience, agriculture, land conservation, parks and recreation, and other environmental markets. And it would also create an environmental infrastructure fund. So specifically, it calls out federal funds. So that is where we're trying to tie in the possible passage of the accelerator. Those funds would be able to come into Connecticut, and we'd be able to use those for environmental infrastructure. We've been working on our bond structure. So our climate bonds would be able to be used not only for mitigation, but also adaptation. So as we heard from Mike and Bert earlier, we built that engine. Now it can also be used to issue bonds for resilience and environmental infrastructure. But within this environmental infrastructure fund, we could not use the Clean Energy Fund, nor Reggie allowance proceeds, nor Clean Water Fund proceeds. So we're very explicit working with other stakeholders to make sure that the clean energy investments reside with the Clean Energy Fund and Reggie, and that there's no commingling. The bill also includes an increase in our special capital reserve fund. So, through our Green Liberty bonds this go around, we had about $25 million of the SCARF that we're using for our 2021 Green Liberty bonds. That would increase from 100 million to 250 million. And the term of bonds for clean energy projects would be 25 years from 20 years, and environmental infrastructure would allow us to issue bonds for up to 50 years, or obviously the useful life of the projects, whichever is less. So we are trying to calibrate our activity, aligning it with possible federal movement so that everything kind of works together to, as we literally head towards our 10th anniversary this July, hopefully all these pieces fall into place, and we're looking at, innovating again for the next decade to drive more private investment in the modernization of Connecticut's infrastructure. So I'll stop there and take any questions, comments before we adjourn.
Right. It's Matt. Just a quick question. I confess I haven't read HB 6441 fully, but looking ahead as if it might pass, we'll have this bonding ability. Will we have the authority to enter into like project loan agreements with municipalities? Is that all included so we don't have to go back? In other words, we get the money through the bonds. We're gonna, do we have all the authority we need if, for example, we're doing climate resiliency in a municipality and we want a project loan agreement with the municipality?
It's a good question, Matt. I'll defer to Brian. My thought is that the municipalities would probably have to have that capability. Like, I think our capability is flexible enough, but on the municipal side, they would have to be able to do that. But Brian, I don't know if, just taking this thought from Matt or any thoughts that you have?
Well, I think from this perspective, from our side of the house, I mean, we currently have a fair amount of flexibility in the financing arrangements that we can enter into. They're obviously limited to clean energy financing, and we do allow for kind of a portion of the finance to be used for non-clean energy purposes where it has a nexus to clean energy. By us expanding to resiliency and other kind of environmental infrastructure, we're going to have that same level of flexibility when we do financing. Now, we're not changing in any way the structures on how municipalities can contract. That would kind of be opening up a little bit of Pandora's box. But from our perspective, we'll definitely have the flexibility to enter into various types of arrangements with municipalities and other counterparties as it relates to, climate and well beyond that with environmental infrastructure.
That answers my question. The towns have the authority. I'm confident. I just want to make sure we had the counterpart authority.
Yes, we will.
Any more questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved, John Harity.
Thanks, John. Second?
Second, Benu.
Thank you, Benu. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.
Okay, happy Earth Day.
Happy Earth Day. Happy Earth Week.